I've been using Affinity for over 6 years now, and for the last few months, I've been putting off this newest update. When version 3 launched, I just kept using version 2 because I had already paid for it, and it worked, so why bother using anything else? Well, I finally put the new Affinity to the test, and I don't think I'm going back to version 2. Let's start with what has actually changed with this newest version. So with version 1 and 2, we had 3 separate programs. We had Affinity Publisher, Designer, and Photo. But now with version 3, they just combined everything into a single piece of software. So now you don't have to switch between different programs in case you wanted to make something in Designer and then use it in Publisher, or so on and so forth. Now everything you do is just in one piece of software, which is awesome. Now before, we had different personas, which were basically just like different layouts to do different things inside of the program, but now we have studios, which is basically the same thing but a little bit different. Let me show you. So if I'm in the Pixel Studio like this, it's basically a Photoshop clone, whereas if I go into Vector, I'm going to have all the tools for like Illustrator, or if I go into Layout, it's going to be like InDesign, just to compare it to different Adobe apps. But the nice thing about all of this is you can create your own studios. So if you can come in here, and so we can apply a different photo to here or different background colors, we can name it, apply different icons, and even add in a description. And so once you have that set up, you can go into your tools and adjust what tools are showing up in that studio, as well as any other windows you want showing up. So like if you want your pages to show up here, you can do that. And I think that is awesome that they added that, because I don't think you could do that in version 1 and 2, where you just could change basically everything about your layout. So I think that's awesome that they included it in here. Now, of course, the biggest thing about version 3 is that it's free, like completely free. You can download it right now. Of course, Canva has their Pro subscription, which works for Canva, and now it also works for Affinity as well, and it will give you access to AI features. So if you don't need any AI features, then everything here that I'm going to show you is going to be free for you. But if you do need AI features, then you do need a Canva Pro subscription. Another thing that they changed that I really like about this newest update is if you go into adjustment layers, there are so many more presets now for each of the different adjustment layers than there were for something like version 2. There were only like maybe a few per adjustment in version 2, and now, as you can see, we have a ton of different adjustments. And of course, you can still go into the different adjustment layers and then save your own presets as well, if you wanted to do that, or you can just use the ones that they have here. Now, being a photographer, I'm not a designer, and so a lot of the features that they kind of improved upon and like made different from versions 1 and 2 into 3 are a lot more designer based. Whereas like the pixel features or the photo features are pretty much the same as we've seen from version 1 and 2. When I was testing out Affinity, I was trying out some different photos and editing with them, and as far as I could tell, the editing workflow, at least for photos, is still almost exactly the same as it was in version 2. So if you guys are coming from version 1 or 2, I think it's going to feel exactly the same. There's really not too much that's changed since then, and it still does handle color pretty well. So for example, I can throw one of my LUTs onto here. Let's try Tangerine Dream. And you can see it still handles the color pretty well, because this is pushing the colors pretty far, and it still looks pretty natural, but you can still get a really good color grade just through adjustment layers alone. Which actually brings me into the things that I don't like about this newest update. For one, let me open up this photo as the raw photo. So just like in version 1 and 2, when you open a raw photo that Affinity recognizes, it will bring you into the Develop persona, or Develop Studio, I guess now in this case. And this is still just about as bare bones as it was in version 1 and 2. So like if I come into shadows and highlights, it only shows you shadows and highlights. You don't get whites or blacks. Same thing with like tones and stuff. You don't have a whole lot of different adjustments you can do in there. And we still have the weird like luminosity issues that we've seen since version 1, where like if I take the shadows and I bump them all the way up, it just kind of makes the image look a little washed out. I don't know if it's just the way it handles color or luminosity or something, but I've never liked the way that the Develop persona handles luminosity, which makes me sad, because if I were to do the same thing I did here inside of Capture One or even like On One, I think the photo would still look fine. I don't think it would look washed out. In fact, let's try it. Because if I go into something like Capture One here with the same photo and I bump those shadows all the way up, you can see it handles luminosity a little bit different. Like this one feels more natural to me. Whereas in this one, it just kind of makes everything look a little washed out. Whereas Capture One has a highlight bias, it doesn't really feel like we have that inside of Affinity, and I think that's what it really comes down to. Which is fine, obviously most of the time you're not pushing the shadows to 100% like that anyway. Maybe I'm just spoiled by good color science with Capture One or something, but I wish the features were just a little bit better for raw editing. Now the last thing doesn't really matter too much, but to me, I found it really annoying that they took away the colored icons. Because in version 2, let me pull it up real quick, you can see we have colored icons across the entire layout of the software. Whereas now, everything is in black and white except for like the studios up top here. And like, why? The colored icons were so nice, and it made the tools so easily identifiable. Whereas now, when I look over in the toolbar, they all just kind of look the same, and I have to rely more on keyboard shortcuts now, which isn't a big problem, but like, I liked the colored icons. Why did they get rid of them? I don't understand that. But I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I just wish they had colored icons. And maybe there's a way to change that. I don't know. If there is, let me know in the comments. And so with all of that being said, and despite my few problems with this, I think this Affinity is the best we've ever had. Like I said, if you don't need AI, then this program is completely free. You basically get a program that replaces InDesign, replaces Photoshop, and replaces Illustrator. I can think of it. All in one piece of software, and it all works flawlessly with each other. So if you make something inside of the Vector Studio and you want to bring it into your layout for like a book or something, you can do that no problem. And now you can even export EPUBs, which is awesome. I don't think we had that capability before. And so you're getting all of this, an incredibly powerful piece of software, completely for free, which is awesome. Like, I wish I would have had this when I started out with photography instead of, you know, trying to learn GIMP when I was like 10 years old because I couldn't afford Photoshop. Like, this would have been incredible to have. So if you're still like paying Adobe and you're looking for alternatives, then I'd say try out Affinity, because I don't think there has been a better time to switch away from Adobe software now. But that does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.